Hello and welcome to the Midnight Bible Study. Tonight's topic is biology proves God is alive and well and has created people. You and I. We are creation of God Himself. And tonight's topic, I'm going to prove this in hopefully, very just a few minutes. Now, this kind of information is not. It's not like hard to get. Maybe it is a little hard to. You'd have to dig it up and do some research, but it's available for anyone who's willing to dig deep and find it. So it's more than enough to prove that God is alive and did create you and I, because the evidence would be more than enough to pull that off in court. So let's get started. Now, I used to work many years ago. I worked for some time in a watch repair shop. Now, a Swiss watch can have up to 400 parts, so it's a very intricate piece of equipment. Very intricate piece of equipment. Now, if I told you that, let's say, a Swiss watch was found on the ground, and I told you that this was built by a team of engineers from, let's say, Lucerne, Switzerland, I bet you'd believe me. You'd think, well, at least you'd think that's plausible. That yeah, a team of engineers, watch builders in Switzerland could have pulled it off. That's probably who would have done that. However, if I told you that over a period of millions and millions of years, all the minerals kind of coalesced and they came together and they formed all into the right combinations of minerals to create the right materials. And then all of those materials formed into the exact finely machined watch parts, the gears, the minuscule gears that fit in the Swiss watch. And I told you that just over millions of years, all these watch parts were created by the atoms being blown around and forming and being molded into these watch parts. And then they all came together. They were screwed in and fitted to each other beautifully. And pretty soon we had this Swiss watch, a beautiful Swiss watch. And let's say I just picked it up in the Swiss Alps, where it just happened to be created over millions of years by natural processes. More than likely, you would say that's absurd. If you didn't think that was absurd, I'd be quite surprised. So I think you would. So what if I, on the same time, now take a car. Let's say I tried the same thing with a car. I said, look, this car has 30,000 parts, but they went through the same process over millions and millions of years. All the minerals came together. They formed the right materials, the right combinations of chemicals, so that all the minerals were there, and then all the parts sort of were, through erosion of wind and water and that sort of things. All the parts of the car were finely crafted and beautifully made. So we had beautiful new car parts for every part of this car. Just a natural process of wind and rain and floods created all that, and then they naturally assembled, or just because over millions of years they kind of assembled into a car. Again, you'd say that's completely absurd, but we're only talking about 400 parts in a watch, and that's an absurd proposition. And we're talking about 30,000 parts in a car, and that's an absurd proposition. Let's talk about biology of you and I. We really can't. We could sit here for med school. Med school takes, I guess, 10 years, something like 10 years to get through med school. So I'm obviously not going to cover all of biology in the next 40 seconds or 60 seconds. But I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're talking about that was created by either random chance or by a creator. Every 60 seconds, 1,000, every 60 seconds, 1,440 times per day, our blood cycles through the body. The heart hurls 2 ounces of blood against the aorta walls with great force. These tidal waves of blood smash against the aorta 70 times a minute, delivering their blows 2.5 billion times during the average lifetime. And my source for this is the incredible Machine, National Geographic Society book. Every minute more than, these tidal waves of blood smash against the aorta 70 times a minute, delivering their blows 2.5 billion times during the average lifetime. So that's a complicated piece of machinery there. The heart is, doing its job 2.5 billion times. I mean, there's no. Each minute, more than a quart of blood flows to the liver. Nutrients easily slip from the liver's porous capillaries and into individual liver cells called hepatocytes, which carry out more than 500 different functions. This is just one organ of the body. We're talking about the liver, and it's carrying out. These individual cells are carrying out more than 500 functions. That means the liver itself is an extremely complicated and sophisticated piece of equipment that's able to do 500 things simultaneously without you ever thinking about it. The human brain, as long as we're talking about thinking, the human brain is the central organ of the nervous system and has more than 86 billion neurons. So there's 400 parts in a Swiss watch, which we all know it will take, a team of engineers to craft that, put it together, design it, and assemble it. The human brain doesn't have 400 parts like a Swiss watch. It's got 86 billion neurons. That's a lot. That's a very complicated piece of equipment. There is no team of engineers anywhere on the planet who could create a human brain, or any human organ. Now, I understand there are some who claim that they do that. They claim that they do that, but it's a hoax, folks. What they're doing, they take existing tissue and manipulate it. That's not creating anything. They're just manipulating existing tissue. So let's get beyond the publicity stunts here. Let's talk about the cells in the body. There are about 200 different types of cells in the body. So it's not only do we have billions and billions and billions and billions of cells, but there are 200, they aren't all the same kind. There are 200 types of cells, and they all have individual functions. Now, humans are multicellular complex organism. The cells inside our bodies are specialized. This means that each type of cell performs a unique and specialized function. For this reason, the 200 different types of cells in the body has a different structure, size, shape, and function, and contains different organelles. So there you go. That gives you a little bit there. There are approximately 90 million rod cells in the eye alone, in the human retina. In the human retina, there's 90 million rod cells. That's a complicated piece of machinery to just come together randomly. The human eye has over 100 million rod cells. The respiratory system has at least 61 cell types, just the respiratory system. The information in DNA is stored in code. It's stored in a code made up of 4 chemical bases, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. The human DNA consists of about 3 billion bases. More than 99% of those bases are the same in all people. So let me repeat that. The human DNA consists of about 3 billion bases. So the human DNA, is an extraordinarily complicated piece of coded double helix. Now, scientists have come a long way in estimating the number of cells in the body, and the most recent estimates put the number of cells at 30 trillion. Okay, 30 trillion. So we all know that a Swiss watch with 400 pieces does not put itself together, or doesn't create itself. All the pieces don't just come together. They don't assemble and create finely tuned gears and then assemble themselves. That's just 400 pieces. Scientists estimate put the number of cells at 30 trillion. If you can even fathom 30 trillion, you're probably a genius. I can't even understand that number. It's just too big. I don't really have anything other than the human body to compare it with. So, all right. So, there you go. Now, it was Bishop William Paley in 1818. He said that he pointed out that a watch with its gear, springs, and mechanisms could never arise by actions of random chance alone. So, but we don't need a 19th century highly educated bishop in order to figure that out. We can figure that out on our own. However, David Hume actually disagreed with Bishop Paley. He disagreed with this. And according to David Hume, here's a quote: living systems only have the appearance of machines unless it can be proven that living systems are indeed machines at a molecular level. Then Paley's watchmaker argument is irrelevant. Well, of course, modern microbiology has now revealed even the simplest organisms are complex machines beyond our imagining. This is coming from Chuck Missler. Science has refuted, that's the famous author and information scientist. Science has refuted Hume and totally vindicated Paley. The distinguished scientist Sir Fred Hoyle summarized it well. Here's a quote: "The speculation of the origin of the species turned out to be wrong." We don't even need I don't see that. It doesn't seem to me we need a respected scientist to figure this out. But nevertheless, that's what he said. The speculation of the origin of the species turned out to be wrong. It is ironic that the scientific facts now throw Darwin out, but leave Paley the ultimate winner. Now, one final point. Even the assumption that there is such a thing as a simple cell, turns out to be a myth. So this idea about these simple cells is a myth. Although here's a quote from, as Michael Denton highlighted. Although the tiniest bacterial cells are incredibly small, each has in effect a veritable micro-miniaturized factory containing thousands of exquisitely designed pieces of intricate molecular machinery made up of 100 trillion atoms. Far more complicated than any machine built by man and absolutely without parallel in a non-living world. Okay, and we're talking about just one cell. Before we explore, okay, so there you go. So clearly the evidence has shown that if nature can't even assemble all the finely tuned parts of a simple 400-piece watch or a basic 30,000 piece car, if it can't assemble all of the right minerals and create the parts through erosion, wind, and flood, and then assemble them after they're finally crafted and to perfection, then it certainly does not stand to reason that it can't pull that off with a 400-piece watch, but a 30 trillion cell person, no problem. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work, especially when every one of those cells has 100 trillion atoms. The complexity of the human biology has proven that Darwinism is I'll just be kind and say it's a flawed theory. It was an entertaining theory that captured the imagination of people for many years, and some people really kind of clung to it, and still do. And they believe in it. It takes more faith to believe in that than it does to believe that that humans were created by intelligent design. And that's what biology proves. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and good night from the Midnight Bible Study.